Dragons have been busy in the off-season, bolstering their roster with the likes of Clint Gutherson, Damien Cook, Val Holmes and Lachlan Ilias. The departures of Zach Lomax and Ben Hunt have seen many write off the chances of the Red V for 2025. But one man who was set to defy the pundits again is their coach, Shane Flanagan. He's on the line right now. Morning, Flano.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
I'm really well. Okay, 1 year down as head coach. You've had a good poke around under the bonnet. What did you learn from 2024 and what have you identified as the areas that need fixing?
Oh, well, last year I thought we, took some big steps in, getting the players fitter, faster and stronger, and I think some results come on the back of that. We can be a lot more competitive because of, we're in a position to compete for longer. But we just fell down at the last month of footy. Whether I need to look at that, about freshening them up or whether it was just, we'd run our race and there was a few other factors going in there. Obviously, Kyle got it suspended and, we can look at for excuses, but, in the end, we just weren't good enough in the last month. And, that's when all the good teams start, cracking the whip, to play semi-finals. So it was a good learning experience for a lot of the boys. I think we blooded four debutants, so that was good for us. And, a bit of a changing of the guard. So this year we continued on that, fitter, faster and stronger theme. But this year we just got to be a bit smarter as well. So with a few new players in the squad, it's exciting times.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. It's interesting just looking at 2024. Some of the big wins were superb, but the losses, they did have a few blowouts. I think about the Roosters game and others. And we know how hard it is too, Flano, losing an outside back early. We've seen Kyle and Tommy Eisenhuth having to defend in the centre. So I suppose, how do you mitigate against that sort of thing? And how do you close that gap between the best performance and the worst performance?
Yeah, well, we were inconsistent without doubt, Jules. We played, really good one week, and then it was just completely different team the following week. And I feel that's about consistency and the way you live your life. And we've addressed that with some of the players that you can't get up for 1 week or have a really good week at training, and then the next week it's not so good. In this professional sport and this environment of the NRL, you need the way you live your life and the way you just do things from day to day. You need to be consistent and have good habits. And I think that was our biggest downfall last year. About being consistent. And if we can be consistent and we'll win more footy games, and then we won't have to worry about winning the last 3 or 4 games to make the semi-finals. You got to do the work early, and the results aren't that important at the back end. You're not chasing your tail to get into the semi-finals. So there's a lot of learnings there from last year, but we've got to make sure that we take them on board and react to them or respond to them.
The roster's starting to take shape. I know you've been very keen, Shane, on experienced Origin level players. You've got that in Gutho and Val and Cookie. Tell us about their impact in the pre-season.
Yeah, I just feel that the club, we've got some really good young kids coming through, and probably 3 or 4 of them will make their debut again this year. And with the 3 or 4 that we had last year, there's 8 new players coming into NRL system, which is a lot. I just felt that we need some experience and we needed some leadership, and both of those players, and Val's more of a sort of an action man. Follow me and watch how I play and how I train and so on. He's not not a great talker in team meetings. He contributes, but it's not his strength. His strength is about the way he plays the game. And I think the other 2, Cookie and Gutho, are definitely leaders on and off the field, and just their attitude, their experience, the way they compete on things has just started to rub off on all the players, and they've been fantastic November, December, January, and they're only going to get better now that they probably knew that they were going to be captains, or, I've pushed them into that area that, you got to be leaders, and now that they've been rubber stamped and, they're going to be leaders of this club, I think they'll take us to another level.
Just on the injury front, how's Lachlan Ilias tracking?
Yeah, he's actually his first main session with the group. He's been doing bits and pieces, but in and out for a fair bit because of the load of that leg. Obviously pretty nasty injury. He had a rod inserted in his lower leg, and it takes some time. And we took some time to get him back to where we need to be, and he's done a lot of running and training away from the team and done bits and pieces. But on Monday was the first day that he did the whole session with the team, and it was great to see. And he'll get better over. He's got a month now before we need to worry about opposition, and I'm sure that'll be enough time for him. So he's looking good. He's a steady defender, good kicking game, and I think he'll fit in really well.
I know it's been pointed out, Flano, that a number of the Dragons' points last season came from the Hunt-Lomax combination. Of course, they're gone. Kyle and Lockie, the new halves. And, Moses, you're shifting over to the right. Looks like, I think you said Sloan on the wing, Gutho at fullback. Do you think the Dragons, in terms of points, are being underestimated here?
Yeah, without a doubt, mate. Not taking anything away from those two players that you talked about, but, they're at the end of, some systems and structures and, from team attack that we worked over, and some of those tries were individual without a doubt. Zach jumping over the top of people, or Benny Hunt showing and going. Some really individual tries, but a lot of those tries are from team systems and structure. So that is still going to happen. We need to find a couple of tries just from just sheer brilliance from individuals. But you throw the class that I've got in there now at dummy half, the class that I've got at fullback, the class of Val Holmes. I think we're definitely in front of where we were last year. And the teams, I've had them for 12 months now, so I'd like to think that they're going to be better again.
Give us an update on Tyrell Sloan. He's adapted to Gutho arriving. What's the attitude been like?
Yeah, he's been good. Gutho sort of took him under his wing straight away. They've been to the basketball and, socialising a little bit together, which has been great. And, Gutho's been the instigator in that. And, he came to this club, and it wasn't to take Tyrell's position. It was to be part of a team. And unfortunately, Tyrell's had a bit of a stress fracture in his foot, or a hot spot in his foot, and he hasn't been able to train. So he's just starting back now, and I'd like to think he gets a good month on the grass with us. But yeah, from my perspective, disappointing that he hasn't been able to do the reps out on the training field. That he's been stuck in the gym because we've had to take the load off the stress fracture in his foot. But touch wood that it's all over with now, and he can get some good time out in the grass and build some combinations with Guffos and others, because he's a talented player. Some of the things that he does, you can't coach. The speed and the evasion and anticipation is just natural, and you can't coach it. So we're looking forward to getting him in the team somewhere.
Some listener questions coming through. Flano, this one from SS. Which up-and-coming players should we be looking out for to play first grade this year? And is also very happy that the Couchman brothers are long-term. He thinks they are the future in the forward. So who do we look out for this year?
Yeah, just on the Couchmans, they've been great this season. I thought last year the game seemed a little bit too fast for them. They're really good athletes and good football players, but it was really quick, and they would just sort of looked like they were in a bit of a mouse in a wheel. They were just chasing their tail all the time, but this year it's slowed down for them. They're just completely different players. They had 30 games underneath their belt now, and I think they've both become first graders, and definitely you can see it in their training. Everything's slowed down. They're a lot more comfortable in everything they're doing. To answer your question on young fellas, we've got a lot that I think that potentially can play. There's been a bit of talk about Loco Tonga, who is a big, massive boy, and
just re-signed too.
He'll play. Yeah, we had to get him done. He'll play at some stage, but a 19-year-old front rower is a big ask. So you need to make sure they're ready, and physically they're strong enough to handle getting bashed by the opposition, basically. So it's a tough job, and there's another young boy, Hamish Stewart, who's a ball playing 13, a bit in the Isaiah Yeo mould. So super excited about him in the coming years. And then we got some other blokes like Dylan Egan's been training outstanding. Latu Finau's another 13, a Polynesian boy that can carry the football, is powerful. We've got so many of them, to be honest. There's, they come out of the SG ball side. Jacob Halangahu. Yeah, but they've come out of SG ball, and we're asking a lot for them to play first grade, but they're all first graders down the track. So whether it's in 25 or 26, I'm not quite sure. But the Dragons are in good shape when we talk about juniors.
Well, that answer has ticked off a lot of the questions sent through by our listeners. So Jazz was asking about Fino Latu and the Couchmans as well. Johnny and T. McHugh, Flano, are asking about maybe a top-line forward, experience, maybe just that one alpha middle away from regular finals footy. Are you holding out hope of someone sort of shaking out of the tree for 2025? Do you have your eye on someone, and do you have money in the cap to spend?
Yeah, we got money in our cap and we got one position available, and we've probably always thought that it needs to be, that type of player, front rower, because, I've got, three young forwards that haven't played first grade in my top 30. So to ask them to play first grade in, the first 6 to 10 weeks is a bit much of an ask. So I do need one of those type of players that you're talking about and in the front row. But if your listeners or yourself knows where one's sitting around not doing anything, send me his name and number and I'll ring him, because they're hard to find, mate. They're so hard to find. Front rows that you're going to add, to your football team and your football club. It's a tough job. So there's none there at the moment, but I'm sure we'll find one if we haven't already got one here at the club.
And just quickly on the wingers, Ravalawa, Finau, we've got some depth there in the outside backs. What sort of role do you see them playing this year? More of a support role?
Oh no, they've got to learn to finish. We're going to create some opportunities. So, got Christian Tupolotto there as well, and we've got Nathan Lawson that we've got from the Australian Sevens rugby union program. He's going really well. So, I'd like to think we've got 4 or 5 quality wingers that can finish, and I'm just throwing the ball out there and so at the moment and just saying, it's up to you boys who we start with, because I'm not quite sure at the moment. They're all battling away, and which is a good thing for the club, to have competition in spots.
So the bookies, I think, after Bennett left, they said, Dragons are going to be down the bottom, wooden spoon favourites. Have you got the newspaper clippings out again, Flano, for this season and plastering them over the dressing room walls?
Yeah, I think the players know, what obviously the betting market is, but listen, that happened last year as well, and we'll 1 or 2 games off of semi-finals. We'll be better again this year. I've been doing it long enough to know that we're going to be better again this year, so there's no chance of that happening. One player that we probably didn't talk about also is Corey Allen, who never played a game like for us last year. He had an ACL, so he's not far off. He should play the last trial, and he'll definitely be ready for the start of the competition. So he's a good one to have. He played Origin. He can play centre and wing, so he's a good one as well.
And has Kyle shed those wedding kilos, mate?
Yes, he's done it tough. He had a good break, and we always wanted him to put on some weight, because he was, running around and, struggling to keep his weight at 86, 87 kilos last year. And he's holding his weight at about 92, 93 at the moment, which is, we always probably thought he'd be about 90 kilos, 91 kilos when he got to, fully grown, and is sort of that 5'8", big 5'8" that can carry the ball, and that's where he is now. So, and he's, he came second in our 1.2 time trial. So his fitness is there, and his weight's probably coming down a bit.
Yep, fantastic. Flano, great to catch up again, mate, and really looking forward to season 2025 for the Mighty Dragons. Thank you.
Good on you, mate.
Here he is, this St George Illawarra coach, Shane Flanagan. So I hope that's ticked off a few of the questions for our listeners on 0457 736 736. You're on Summer Mornings.